Revenge is an ugly word, but for some it is the only chance of healing. This is a story of retribution that lasted for 30 years. Munich, 1972. Millions of viewers around the world tune in to watch the start of the 17th Olympic Games. Thousands of people arrive in the city from all over the world to celebrate another festival of international goodwill. Among them are 28 Israeli athletes, full of optimism and hope. But the Olympics of 1972 will be remembered for something quite different. September the 5th, 4:40 in the morning. Heavily armed terrorists raid the Israeli compound in the Olympic Village. Eleven Israeli athletes are killed. Prime Minister Golda Meir informs Parliament of the tragedy. Her response is to form a top-secret committee that will lead a campaign of retribution against those responsible for the Munich Olympic massacre. In the early months of 1972, preparations for the Games were in full swing. Alongside the new sports facilities, new hotels and restaurants were rising all over the city. Elsewhere, other preparations were also in hand. In Lebanon, members of a terrorist organization called Black September, a branch of the Palestine Liberation Organization, were also training for the Olympics. The Palestinians had applied to take part in the Games, but because they are not a sovereign state, the letters were never returned. Determined that their voice should be heard, Palestinians decided to contribute in another way. The plans were drawn up here in Beirut in January 1972 by 4 of their leaders. Mahmoud Yusuf Najjar, number 3 in the PLO and a liaison with Black September. Mohammed Daoud Oudeh, known as Abu Daoud, an operational planner for the PLO. Ali Hassan Salameh, a Black September intelligence operative, nicknamed by the Israelis the Red Prince. And Abu Iyad, head of the PLO intelligence staff and the secret chief of Black September. What they planned is to be seen live by the entire world. At the time, they did not expect it to end in the way that it did. Eric Rouleau is a writer and journalist who knew Abu Iyad well.
Yes, this is a book which I wrote with Abu Iyad.
The book, My Home, My Land, which they wrote together, describes what went on behind the scenes.
The Palestinians were humiliated. The Palestinians were desperate. I think that Black September was one of a means of keeping up the morale of the Palestinian militants. And making such a big operation like Munich would give the PLO, would give the Palestinians some kind of respect for what they're doing. The whole world also would discover that the Palestinians are still there, they have to deal with them. They were hoping to succeed. They were not going to harm the athletes, they were going to take them to Algiers. It will be a big success for the PLO.
In order to succeed, they need a lot of information about the Olympic Village, and for this they need local help. In the summer of 1972, Black September contacts the Red Army faction, or RAF, a German terrorist group. In August, the RAF begins monitoring security around the Olympic Village, supplying Black September with pictures of targets and details of routines. Willy Voss, a former neo-Nazi, was an RAF activist at the time.
We made a contract that the Palestinians would help us, and we would give them the chance to do their operations in Europe. I gave informations to people who stand in Europe, Palestinian people. I took informations, I gave money, I took money, I brought weapons, and everything an organization like that needs.
ארגוני הטרור בעולם של שנות ה-60, ה-70 וה-80, אחד הדברים שמאוד אפיינו אותם זה הקשרים ההדוקים ביניהם. בין ארגונים שלכאורה לא היה ביניהם שום דבר משותף. אם זה ארגון גרילה אורבני בדרום אמריקה, ארגון בסקי שמנסה להשיג עצמאות לחבל ארץ בספרד, אנשי באדר מיינהוף, וכמובן הפלסטינים שבשלב זה או אחר שאפו להקים מדינה משלהם. וכל הארגונים האלה, למרות שבעצם לא היה להם שום דבר משותף, יצרו אידיאולוגיה משותפת של מאבק למען זהות לאומית, למען בית לאומי, נגד מה שהם ראו ככוח כובש או כוח אימפריאליסטי, ובאופן טבעי התחילה מעין בורסה של שמור לי ושמור לך.
September the 5th, Black September strikes. At 4:40 in the morning, a group of hooded figures enter the Olympic Village. They move systematically through the buildings, scanning the hallways in search of Israeli athletes. By dawn, Black September's agents have captured 9 Israelis, killing one at the break-in and another as he tries to fight back. In a matter of minutes, the terrorists have taken control of the Israeli compound. They threaten the German authorities with a bloody massacre if their instructions are not followed. Esther Shachamorov, a sprinter in the Israeli team, was in the women's quarters.
אני זוכרת, זה היה פחד אימים. אני זוכרת שיצאנו מהבניין הזה והסתובבנו בכפר בשביל שיעבירו אותנו לבניין אחר. ככה הסתכלנו כל הזמן, אמרנו אולי בכל מקום מחכים לנו מחבלים. הייתה הרגשה של פחד וגם כן חוסר ודאות.
In Israel, Golda Meir wakes up to the news at home in Jerusalem.
She was shocked. It was one of the most shocking experiences in our history.
For Golda, this is more than another act of terrorism. The murder of Jews on German soil brings back memories of the Holocaust, still vivid in her mind. She is perceived as the Jewish mother of the Israeli people, and she feels it her duty to defend her children. Revenge is the only option.
The immediate question that stood before us, can we send a unit from here, from Israel to Germany in order to release the sportsmen?
Golda Meir calls in Tzvi Zamir, head of Israel's Central Institute for Intelligence and Security, a secret organization known around the world by the Hebrew word for institute, Mossad. She also summons Aharon Yariv, head of military intelligence, to discuss the possibility of a rescue operation.
All along the day, there were here a lot of intensive consideration what should be done.
Ehud Barak, later Israel's prime minister, commanded a combat unit at the time.
I was at the time the commander of our elite unit that was more trained than any other unit here and probably in the world at the time. In running such operations, we already had behind us rescue operation of a hijacked Sabina airplane at Ben-Gurión airport. And I suggested to General Yariv, who was at the time the head of intelligence, telling him, look, we are prepared. to take our unit, put a plane, will be there, and until night we can fall on our feet very quickly and adapt to the situation and be able to, probably be able to execute a rescue operation.
We sent the head of our Mossad to Germany to check the possibilities. The Germans thought that they can handle it.
המטרה של צביקה זמיר הייתה, בין היתר, מעבר לנוכחות ולבדוק מה קורה, לשכנע את הגרמנים, את הממשלה, את ראשי הצבא, שאנחנו נבוא לבצע את זה. היינו כבר בכוננות כאן, היינו באיקון לנסוע לשם.
At 2:30 that afternoon, Mossad chief Tzvi Zamir lands in Munich and is immediately taken to Knolle-Strasse, where the hostages are held. He comes with a message from Golda Meir, who offers help to the Germans. As the media gather outside the building, the terrorists issue their demands. They provide a typewritten list of 234 Palestinian and German prisoners to be released. Among them Ulrike Meinhof and Andreas Bader, founders and leaders of the notorious Bader-Meinhof gang. In Israel, the reaction of the public is horror and despair. The entire country tunes in to events in Munich as they unfold. The Germans are not ready to accept Israeli assistance. Zamir reports this to Golda Meir. This is the original coded letter that he sent her on September the 5th. But Golda refuses to negotiate with terrorists. She will accept nothing but total surrender. By late evening, the terrorists demand to be taken to the airport with their hostages. This gives the Germans a chance to launch a rescue operation.
לא הייתה להם יחידה ללוחמה בטרור. זה היה אוסף של שוטרים שהלכו לבצע מבצע, שלא היה שום מוטיבציה לבצע את זה, לא רצון להסתכן, וגם לא את הידע. לא צליפה ולא פריצה, שום ידע, שוטרים. כך היום קבוצה שוטרים יכולים לבצע מבצע מיוחד. זה מקצוע.
As they reach the airport, the police strike, but they lose control. The terrorists panic, open fire and throw a hand grenade. As the smoke clears, all 9 Israeli hostages lie dead, and 5 terrorists. 3 terrorists survive and are arrested by the Germans. The world reacts with horror to this act of barbarism. There is a move to cancel the games, but this is widely seen as conceding victory to the terrorists. After a memorial ceremony, the games continue without the Israeli team. They choose to return home. They have lost 11 of their friends. Esther Shachamarov has lost her personal trainer.
לאבד פתאום בן אדם כזה, ופתאום אתה חוזר באווירון, הוא הביא אותך לשם. זאת אומרת, אנחנו באנו ביחד, ואני יושבת באווירון, ואני יודעת שהוא למטה בארון.
What started out in an atmosphere of reconciliation and hope has ended in a bloody massacre. But Golda Meir is determined to settle the score. As the nation mourns, Golda Meir assembles the heads of Israel's intelligence to form a top-secret team whose mission will be to terrorize the terrorists. It is to be known as Committee X, and its leader is General Aharon Yariv. Yariv believes in quiet action, executed without the help of the international community.
The international community did not take a strong stand at that time against terrorist activity and did not take decisive action against terrorists even when they captured terrorists. Many of the terrorists who were captured red-handed in dastardly attacks were let go free.
As if to prove Yariv's point, less than 2 months after the massacre, the Palestinians hijack a Lufthansa flight at Munich itself, demanding the release of the 3 surviving perpetrators. The German authorities give in. It is clear that Israel will have to act alone. Under Committee X, Mossad sets up a special unit of agents that will hunt down and kill every person involved in the Munich attack, one by one.
הטראומה הייתה כל כך גדולה, שנוצר כאן אבסורד. מדינת ישראל שביטלה את עונש המוות, אין עונש מוות בחוק הישראלי, מלבד לנאצים ומשתפי פעולה עם הנאצים. ובגלל הטראומה של מינכן, מדינת ישראל החליטה להוציא להורג אנשים שהיו קשורים באופן ישיר לטבח של מינכן.
But within Mossad, it is agreed that this time killing the operatives is justified.
I think there is a lot of logic to do it, because if you don't do it, these same people will continue to cause the death of innocent people. So in a way, you are saving lives by doing it. So although I personally am dead against, for example, summary executions of murderers and things like that, but if you have a case where you can save lives and you know that these people will continue to kill, then you have to take drastic action.
If we can allow Israelis or Jews to become targets all around the world, you know, it cuts underneath somehow the way that Israel perceives itself and the raison d'etre of having Israel as a shelter. If as a result of having this shelter, Jews all around the world or Israelis are under higher risk without any kind of capacity to respond, that would give the wrong signal to the terrorists.
In Tel Aviv, Mossad begins to gather information on the terror group responsible for the massacre. Golda is kept informed every step of the way. Personal dossiers are assembled for each of the terrorists. At the top of the hit list of 12 known terrorists is Ali Hassan Salameh. The Red Prince has eluded Mossad before, but this time they mean to eliminate him. From its stations around the world, their intelligence sources provide Mossad with valuable data on Black September, its personnel, weapons, and financing.
Recruiting agents among terror organizations is one of the most difficult things to do, because terrorists are usually very motivated. They usually operate in small groups, and it's very, very difficult to find someone in those small groups who is willing to betray his comrades and his ideals and to talk. But I can tell you that we certainly did succeed.
By October 1972, Committee X has produced a heavy file on Black September. Black September was born in Jordan in 1970. The capital, Amman, had become the headquarters of Fatah, the military wing of the PLO.
I was in Amman just before the war broke out between the Fedayeen and the Jordanian army. And all the journalists, we were about several hundred journalists there, we were convinced that if there was a war, the Fedayeen would win. They looked so strong, they were in the streets. When we arrived at the airport, there was nobody from the Jordanian government to receive the journalists. It was a representative of Fatah who came and gave us press cards, told us which hotel to go. They were acting like a government.
From Jordan, the Palestinians were conducting their campaign against Israel and working to bring their cause to the attention of the world. In September 1970, they hijacked 3 airliners to the Jordanian desert. After removing all the passengers, they put on a firework display for the world to watch. For King Hussein of Jordan, this is a step too far.
Well, actually, the hijackings, as far as I was concerned, were the straw that broke the camel's back. Something had to be done. And the humiliation of having aircraft flown into the country and innocent passengers being whisked away to various parts of the country and being unable to do anything about it, and subsequently having this aircraft blown up was something that questioned whether Jordan really existed or whether it didn't.
Hussein's army launches all-out war on Jordan's refugee camps. A bloodbath follows as thousands of Palestinians are killed and tens of thousands are wounded. Many of the Palestinians are expelled, forced to relocate to run-down camps in South Lebanon. The PLO changes its address to Beirut. From the ashes of the burning camps, a new and vicious terror group is born to live under the PLO's umbrella. In commemoration of the recent tragic events, it will be called Black September. In Tel Aviv, Golda Meir chooses a veteran Mossad agent to command the assassination team. He will operate independently with no official link to Israel. His name is Mike Harari, an intelligence agent for 20 years with a reputation for extreme ferocity. Mike Harari chooses Paris as his headquarters, settling there under the alias of French businessman Edouard Lasky. He handpicks his team of assassins. Much like the terrorists' cells in Europe, Harari assigns separate tasks to small groups. They will act independently.
מייק הררי קיבל הוראה, אתה תקבל רשימה של אנשים שהיו אחראים ישירות לטבח במינכן, ואתה תדאג לכך שהם לא ימותו מוות טבעי. וזאת בהחלט, זה רגע מאוד מכריע, לא רק בתולדות מדינת ישראל, אלא גם בתולדות הטרור הבינלאומי. מכיוון זאת פעם ראשונה שמדינה סוברנית בעצם נטלה על עצמה לפעול על פי אותו קנה מידה ובאותם כלים של ארגוני הטרור, ובעצם, אם אפשר לומר, לפעול כארגון מאפיה. אתה בא לחסל אותי, אני אחסל אותך.
October 1972, one of Harari's teams arrives in Rome. Its first target is Abdel Wahel Zuwaita, a Palestinian poet working as a translator at the Libyan embassy. He lives quietly on Piazza Annibaliano. Mossad suspects that as the Black September representative in Rome, Zuwaita was involved in the logistical organization of the Munich operation. October the 16th,